Welcome, everybody, to a brand new episode of Let's Talk Broncos, brought to you by Mile High Sports. We're live from the Mile High Sports studios. I'm here with Zach Seegers and Joey Richards. I'm Bree Maestas, back at it again for week 3 of your daily Broncos content. Happy to be here, guys. How are you?
I'm doing well. Excited to be here, talk rookies with you guys. I absolutely love this type of thing where you get kind of get a glimpse at the future, right? That's why the draft is my favorite thing.
And
and the preseason's a great opportunity for these rookies to show out.
And this also kind of to that point, this might be our last chance to talk about some of these rookies.
Totally.
With cuts going down today.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you could see a couple of the, I wouldn't even see sleeper picks, but those picks that maybe there was question marks surrounding and see them gone.
And even the ones that have made the final roster as waiver moves occur over the last few days, some of the back end of those guys who are even on the final roster won't end up being on the final roster a week from now. So good opportunity to talk about these guys.
Totally.
Yeah. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Let's grade the rookies' performances through preseason game 3. Broncos just faced the Vikings on last Saturday, and I think we should talk about some of the performances from that game. And I think we'll start first and foremost with Nick Bonitto. Zach, take it away.
Yeah, this is the guy talked about it last show yesterday. Same thing. As one of my big risers from the recent game. And yeah, I think you've got to give him an excellent grade for how he ended things. I'll talk my way through it and decide what grade I want to land on. But I just thought how he set that tackle up all game long, and then countered it with setting up the tackle all game long with power moves, he said. And then finally he knew the quarterback would be taking deeper drops because of the game situation. And he went, all right, this is my chance to use my speed rush, go around the outside shoulder. And it resulted in nearly 3 sacks in a row to clinch the game. The third one, the quarterback escaped and, threw that deflected pass to McTelvin Najim. But I just I thought he played a really remarkable game as a pass rusher. It does have to improve in the run and whatnot still. But I think, again, grading it based on what our expectations for these players were, our expectations for Nick Bonitto was a designated pass rusher who can come on the field and get you a sack when you need one. And that was like A+ representation of just having that facet. So I think overall I'll give him a B+.
Okay. No, I think that makes sense, man. Like you nailed it with that's kind of what he was supposed to be, was that designated pass rusher role. And that's what he kind of showed. Now, the thing with Nick Bonitto that's tough is those pressures are going to have to come, or it's not working out, or that pick's not a great pick, in my opinion. If that's not a consistent thing where it's like Nick Bonitto is a hell of a pass rusher, why did we draft him? Because I know what he's not good in. He's not a good run support guy. That's not what he is. I don't know if that's ever what he's going to be. So those pressures are going to have to come. I will say it came at the end of the game, so it was against a third-string tackle. I'm going to give it a B. I thought the way he was able to do it was great, to Zach's point, setting him up, all that cool stuff. Mine is just a slightly lower than yours because it's what he has to do, right? That's why he was a second-round pick. And then secondly, because of the competition level.
I did like one thing I saw from him in run defense. There was one rep where it looked like his responsibility was to drop back in coverage based on what he did. He immediately kind of backed off the line, and it was a run play. And you saw him, you wrote that awesome article about how he kind of had some of those inside linebacker skills. And you really saw those on display there, where he dropped back, sorted through the traffic, sifted through, and then came up and was in on a tackle.
It's interesting. We haven't seen much of that, right?
No,
not yet. And I'm hoping that's something we see pulled out later when he actually has more of a role, and maybe once the playbook is opened up more, is that he truly is like almost an edge inside linebacker hybrid more than a just pure edge. You're not going to ask him to sit there and set a hard edge, or you're putting him in a position where he's going to be compromised. Where you really want to play him is in passing situations where the guy can drop back into coverage, do stuff like that where his movement skills are really cool. And then in passing situations where you get to see that bend and that burst and all that stuff that everyone hypes up about Nick Bonitto.
Is your elevated grade then due to the 2-sack performance?
Yeah, the 2-sack performance is the reason why. I'm looking for more pressures on consistency than I am sacks. I'm like a hard believer in sacks aren't the tell all in it, but yeah, getting at the end of the day, it's a big thing to get a sack, right?
Yeah.
It's still difficult. So I think that's the reason why any 2-sack performance is a really good performance for anybody.
I think it's B's across the board then.
Yep.
Jump on over to DAMARRI Mathis. Next player up. Joe, you start with this one.
Okay, yeah, DAMARRI Mathis. So I'm really concerned if he's the Broncos' 4th or 3rd boundary corner. I'm really concerned, and that's kind of, I have to grade him almost like that because that's what the Broncos at this point feel like they are working him into, unless they do pick up a corner in waivers, which I would be shocked if they didn't. But right now he's sitting there as that 3rd boundary corner. So I gave him a C- because I don't think the guy's ready yet. I don't think he's ready to play a starting role. And if you look at the Broncos cornerback situation at the moment, Ronald Darby has only finished a season once in his entire career, and he's a vet now, right? And it's something that the Broncos need. They need to find that boundary corner, and I just don't think DAMARRI Mathis is that guy yet.
I don't think he is either. I don't think they have what on the roster right now is the other scary thing. Like, we'll see. Maybe something happens this week with all the waiver moves and them freeing up a small amount of cap space by moving on from Sam Martin. There's some cap space that could have been spent on a Bryce Callahan or a Nate Hairston. I don't know. We'll see if they make any moves there. I hope they do. But yeah, I think you got to be really worried about that boundary corner spot right now. There's a very high likelihood they're playing multiple games. And I think DAMARRI Mathis is the best of the bunch. But to your point, lots of questions. I thought his Saturday performance was the worst I've seen him play since the pads came on during training camp. Yeah, I just wasn't impressed with it. I don't think he tackled well, wasn't good in the run game, and then was burned a couple times in coverage. Just playing things poorly. Hope he bounces back once we're in season, but I don't know. For me, it's tough. I've got to remember I'm grading based on like draft expectations. So I'll give him a C. This is kind of where I expected him to be around now, but really that's because I'm not doing the moving scale like you. I think if I was doing a moving scale, it'd be something like a D for me, just because my expectations have raised a good bit for DAMARRI Mathis. And that performance was a little sobering, a little snapback to reality that, hey, this is a 4th-round rookie corner.
Totally. Yeah, that's I kind of mixed it both on that grade. I don't know why. I'm just kind of winging it. It is definitely a moving scale.
That's what we do here.
But I had to incorporate that he is the 3rd Broncos boundary corner at this point. So yeah, you know what? I have it at a C-, but it's closer to a D. I'm not sure.
No, I think that's fair. I think gave him a C. So it's averaging out pretty well.
One little quick note here on the Broncos pass rushers. In terms of pass rush grade from PFF, I wanted to look up their pass rush win rate, and they have it. In terms of pass rush grade, Broncos have the 5th and 9th highest graded edge rusher in the preseason, those being Browning and BONITTO. I would put like no stock into preseason PFF grades, but I do think that's an interesting note. In pass rush win rate, they're doing really, really well. Baron Browning is at a 22.9 pass rush win rate, and Nick BONITTO is at a 16.7, which is like quality numbers. So that's a more advanced. We're talking about sacks versus pressures.
Totally.
Fantastic. We'll move on over to the next rookie on our list in Wazirike.
Okay. For a while, so I'm a little disappointed. I'll be honest with you guys. After that first game, and I saw some of that athleticism and a lot of stuff there, I noted after that first game that, hey, this guy really needs to work on his pad level. Being so big, guys get under you easily, and he kind of guys got under him, and he was able to push him back and move him around. For a guy as big as he is, I want him so bad to be a better run defender. Like, really, really bad.
It's painful.
I really want him to, like, he looks like he should be able to do it. He has that body to do it. He has everything that would make him really good. Now, maybe that comes down the line. I'm not throwing it out the window and saying it's not a possibility at this point, but he hasn't shown it yet. And I think that's kind of the reason the Broncos brought him in as depth. I think he was brought here to serve as depth. If a guy came down and so he could step in and play. And I don't think he's ready to play at this point. I think he's too easily pushed around, and I think he's too much of a liability in the run at this point.
I think he was brought in to be depth maybe for this season, but I do think long term, he's a 4th-round pick. You are hoping he can start or at least do
Totally.
something for you. And
I'm not ruling that out yet.
I
though.
understand, but the point being, he's a developmental player, and he's 25 years old.
Right.
Like, that is a huge concern to me. And it's not like he came out of Samford, you know, where it's like, oh, what's that coaching staff like? He came out of Iowa State, which has a terrific defensive coaching staff. So honestly, I am a little concerned. It's like, it's a 25-year-old rookie who still doesn't know how to maintain pad level. You know, he played 6 years in college. When it's kind of the same way I felt about Drew Lock. All right, we've seen him have these same exact flaws for 6 seasons. When is it finally going to click?
Catching strays all over the place.
I mean, I will say, man, it's still his rookie season. We're in the preseason.
It is, but I think that's a concern. There's a reason why a lot of analytic forward teams don't draft older rookies. It's harder to develop them. We're talking about a guy who right now is a developmental prospect.
Totally.
And he's 25, which just means it's going to be a lot harder to develop him. If he was 22, that developmental track is a different story.
I process it more as once he's developed, his prime is quicker. It's shortened. I don't process it as it's harder to develop. I process it more as, okay, that time period once it is developed is shortened.
I think it totally does mean they're harder to develop.
I mean, look at Garrett Bowles. Like there's examples of guys that have
look
come
at
in
Garrett.
older.
I mean, Garrett Bowles took him 3-4 years to develop into what he became.
That's my point, though. He's older now, and it's limiting.
And
his
the development was
prime.
harder. I think there's plenty of studies that show that when you're younger, you learn things faster. I also think we're talking about a guy, unlike Garrett Bowles, who had like an awkward path to the NFL. He was in college with a really good defensive coaching staff for 6 years. Don't you think Matt Campbell was spending time talking about pad level?
No, yeah, totally. But it's like one thing, man. Like I'm not willing to throw it out the window yet and say it's done. I'm not. We're in the 3rd preseason.
I'm not saying he's done.
And
I'm just saying he's 25.
I mean,
for a player to be this developmental at age 25 is concerning. Like, we're kind of throwing in the towel on McTelvin Najim a little bit. McTelvin Najim's like 6 months older than this guy and is looking similarly as Raw.
But I
so
think
why
there is something to be said about a guy being 3rd year in the NFL and a guy being 1 year in the NFL.
Oh,
that there is
6 years with a really good college coaching staff.
Najim had Kohler as the defensive line coach, like known as one of the better in the entire football. Like not just college, NFL, college. Like there is something to be said. I agree with you, Zach, that I think in college he had a great defensive line coach, but there is something to be said about, okay, he's taking a leap and he's struggling in this area. But I mean, what do we know he looks like a month down the road? I do agree with you that it's a concern, but I don't think that I'm as far as you in saying it's like, I don't know how far you are on it. Maybe I'm processing it wrong, but
all I'm saying is it's a big concern because we're talking about a player that right now is getting bullied in the run game by 2nd-team offensive linemen. You spent a 4th-round pick in him. You would like him to not go the McTelvin Najim route. And unlike McTelvin Najim, where it's like, oh, this guy's kind of new to the position. He doesn't have a lot of experience there. Let's see if he learns and grows into it. My man's been on a good defensive line with a good defensive line coaching staff for 6 years, and he still has like some of the, and I know it's more difficult because he's such a mountain of a man to your earlier point, but like he still hasn't figured out pad level yet. Like that is concerning that at age 25. I don't know.
Would you be looking for him to outperform Jonathan Harris?
I didn't love the pick when it happened, to be fair. So that might be coloring some of my negativity some.
Yeah.
I'd take him over Jonathan Harris because there's some development.
My whole point with him is that you can't deny the potential.
Okay.
I just don't think you can deny it. Just because we're in the 3rd preseason game, I don't think you can, though. I think it's going to take longer than this to say that he's not worthy of the spot. I
don't think the potential is limited because he's had some troubling preseason games. I think the potential was always limited because he's a 25-year-old rookie.
Okay, we're going to go back on the same point where it's like,
I just think there's a reason why teams like the Browns, who are, some of the most analytically driven in the league, refuse to draft players older than 23.
I totally agree with you. I agree that it's a concern. That's a concern. I just am not, I think that limits your window of how successful he can be, the window of success, but I don't think it rules out success.
I think again, just I hate to go back to it, but for me, it's like with Drew Lock, like at a
Let's end it
point,
after this
it's
one.
fine. It's like for me, it's like with the Lock thing, because I just think at a point, it's like, okay, maybe the development's just not happening for this guy.
I know, but I wasn't willing to say that about Locke after the preseason.
No, but so what I'm talking about is Locke has had these same problems dating back to his freshman year at Mizzou. Wazirike has had these same problems dating back his whole college career.
Yeah, it's leading somewhere. I just
But
agree to
is it?
disagree.
I don't know.
I agree to
I'm going to
disagree.
move on just for my own
Yeah, let's do
sanity,
it.
and we're going to hit up the next player in DTY. Zach, take this one away from me. DeLarrin Turner Yell, how's he doing?
I thought he finally had a really, really quality game. Loved his near goal line stand. 4th and goal, fire downhill in that hole. And until we saw the replay, I thought he stood the guy up at the goal line. It was phenomenally impressive how hard he hit him. Just that stopping power stood out to me. That's what the Broncos drafted DTY for, so I'm sure they were happy to see that. Thought the sack that came up on another big 4th and goal was huge. Like I think I tweeted it. He's a split second away from having 2 touchdown saving plays in a single preseason game, which is fantastic for him. I still don't think I don't know. I thought it was a really strong performance. I think it's probably too little too late. I'll give it I don't know, based on my a B-. I think it was a B- game. I thought it was solid.
Is it because they're just too stacked at safety then?
Yeah, you're not. Most teams only carry 4 safeties, and the Broncos have their 4 pretty solidified. It's like, do they carry 5? And then, it's him and J.R. Reed battling it out for that 5th spot.
So this one's just where like we grade these players differently based off our thing. I'm grading off his prior performances, where I thought he was quiet. I thought the first game extremely quiet. Game after that a little better. This game a lot better than that first one. So I give him a B+.
There was improvement.
A lot of improvement. We're coming from where I saw him miss a tackle that first game and then just stopping people at the goal line. It's like that's a major improvement from what I've seen. And he looks good. I mean, he seems like the type of player that would be awesome on special teams and stuff like that to me. I'm not saying the Broncos will keep him. The Broncos safety room is absolutely loaded. I thought J.R. Reed looks great. Every time I see him, big athletic dude at safety. I like it. So I give him a B+, but I don't think that – I think it was going to take more consistency to ensure a roster spot.
Oh. Zach, how do you feel? Oh, you already graded.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm on the same page.
On the same page. I thought there was going to be more discourse around on it. I guess there wasn't. So we'll move on to Montreal, Washington, who scored his first touchdown on Saturday. Exciting stuff. Does that affect his grade at all, or is that the expectation moving on with these rookies that they're able to step in at a moment's notice to make those big splash plays? Joey, how do you feel?
I'll be honest. So he scored the touchdown, and it's like one of those big splash plays, but on a play-to-play basis, it's very quiet game, right? I don't think he did much on the punt return at all. The one time he did get the ball, it was the touchdown, but that was the one time he got the ball. So I'm going to give it a C- just because I wanted more from him in the return game. I thought that's the reason why the Broncos brought him down here. And by the way, this is one game. I'm not making some big proclaiming that Montreal Washington isn't a punt returner, because we've seen it the last 2 games. But I'm just grading strictly off this game, and it didn't really come together like that.
Yeah, how many returns did he have in this game? How many times was he put back there? Because I know Jalen Virgil.
He had the kick return. Montreal Washington got some punt returns.
You did? All right.
A handful.
Yeah, on the returns, he didn't have one of those big returns. For me, you're seeing schemed up offensive touches for him. I get it, based on your rolling grading system, it makes sense. It is a letdown based on or relative to what we saw against the Bills, 100%. But I think overall, based on where he was drafted and what our pre-draft or immediate post-draft expectations for Montreal Washington were, it was still promising. Not every return is going to go for 30 yards, and to see him score his first NFL touchdown like that, I think that's exactly what you want to see from Montreal Washington. So I'll give it a C+. Not a wowing performance, but a really solid one.
Okay. Yeah. So you gave him a C+ just for that one. That's what you think?
Well, I'm doing it based on what he was you guys
pre-draft.
pre-draft.
I have to keep remembering that.
And I think like, you know, scoring a touchdown in a spot like
It's
that,
a big
like,
moment.
if you told me Montreal, like, and seeing that jet sweep, I think we've seen it a few times in practice and it's been pretty effective.
Mhm.
I think it could be a real weapon for him this year. So seeing it kind of come to fruition, it's better than just like the average for me. Not a ton, not super impressive, but it was a positive. So just knock it up a tick, C+.
And that was because you're grading performances throughout the preseason and not just draft exercise.
Yeah, I thought he had more impact in the other games.
True, and I think
His is
that's why.
rolling.
But I still gave him a C+ because of, you know, scoring a touchdown, and that's a big deal, man. Let's
Yeah.
move on to Luke Wattenberg. Zach, start me off with this one.
Yeah, I feel good here. I think he's a solid B right now. Like and I think some of that maybe I'm projecting my own pre-draft expectations onto him, but a guy who was not supposed to be drafted, even when he was, it was like, all right, he's a great athlete, but he's super raw. You know, he's probably a practice squad guy in year one. At least that was my thought process. And some of it is, and we talked about this last week, just how bad the rest of the offensive line around him is, but he's been one of the better second unit guys. And he's also shown center guard versatility, which I didn't think we'd see from him in year one. So it's again, not a big thing, but it's enough for me to give him like a B-.
Okay. I gave him a C+. I think Luke Wattenberg has come in and impressed comparative to where I thought he would be. The center guard versatility is a cool thing. It is a really cool thing.
And
I
they
think
need it as long as Moody and Compton are
exactly. I was just about to get into that, man. If you those depth guys across the O line, it's such a big thing. They need to be at least a little versatile. You need them to be at least a little versatile. You can't have one trick ponies as backup offensive linemen. It just doesn't work that way. If a tackle goes down, you want to be able to play your best tackle. You don't want to have to play your tackle that can only start on the left side when your right tackle's hurt. You know, it puts you in odd situations if it's like that. So that's a cool thing. I like that they've played around with that, and he's taken snaps at center and guard. I've never thought in any of the games like Luke Wattenberg is just not getting it done, you know, which is what I kind of figured it would be coming into this.
Same. I thought it'd be bad.
Yeah. And I haven't thought that once. So C+ performance for him. And there's been a couple times where like there was one play where him and Cam Fleming, it was the first 3 Mike Boone runs were all the same. I thought it was funny. It was that pitch, but he had the ability to cut it. He had the ability to cut up. It was like a zone block type pitch deal going on. It was cool. I liked that.
I really liked that design too.
And Cam Fleming and Luke Wattenberg got on a double, man, and they rode that dude backwards. I loved seeing that. That was cool.
And to that point, in a lot of the run game stuff, I've seen Luke Wattenberg getting push on the pile, or push on his man. Excuse me. And that's something I didn't like. If you look at what Luke Wattenberg's big concern coming out of Washington was, it was like his anchor and the power in his game. Despite having a really big frame, that power wasn't really in his game. You saw him really get bullied during the Senior Bowl not the Senior Bowl, what's the other one? East-West Shrine Bowl. Just pushed all over the field. And he got that peanut butter in him a little early. You're seeing him bulk up, show a little strength. So that's nice.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll hop on into another position. Someone who maybe didn't have the best showing on Saturday.
This guy needs some peanut butter. This guy needs to get some peanut butter. It's not just toughness and grittiness, but I'm going to give him C- just because.
For anyone listening, that's Fayon Hicks.
Or maybe, Fayon Hicks. Or maybe a D+. I thought it was a underwhelming performance that was mainly highlighted by when I think it was Jalen Naylor was the wide receiver for the Vikings, but you saw Fayon try to tackle high, and some of that's tackling for him, but that also deserves to be knocked. But Jalen Naylor just made Fayon Hicks look like a child, just tossed him off him and then ran for like a 15, 20-yard gain after the fact.
Right.
That was Fayon Hicks's big moment of the night, and so I think it's kind of impossible to give him a solid grade.
With Fayon, there seems to be a lot of timing issues as well, and so does that lend to his kind of mistackling there?
It could be a factor there if he's feeling like he's a little late on things.
Sometimes for players, when it rains, it pours, man. You know, when you need to be out there playing sports, you need to be fully confident, and that's kind of my concern now.
You can't hesitate. You could injure yourself.
Yeah,
You could miss a big play.
it's a big thing. You need to feel confident. Like, I'm making this play every single time. And I'm not saying Phelan Hicks isn't confident. It's just sometimes with players, you start to see it spiral down. And I'm worried that's kind of what happened with Phelan Hicks there. After I remember Zach coming into this podcast and saying he looked good in training camp.
There was a moment. If you go back like 2 weeks before the preseason, I want to say, where Isang Bassi got murdered by Jerry Jeudy for like 3 hours. And then they started experimenting with Phelan Hicks in that, like kind of pushing Isang Bassi for nickel. And Phelan Hicks outperformed him for a few days. And it was like, oh, shoot, this might be a surprise flip-flop on the depth chart. And then like as quickly as it became a storyline, it disappeared. And you saw Phelan starting to get burned, Isang playing more consistently. And at the end of the day, I think Isang's comfortably won that job.
Yep. It's going to be really tough for him to win it. But since it's based off the other games where I've seen him play really bad in all of these, I just gave him a C.
Okay.
I like it.
Per average, yeah. Talk about a lack of confidence in a terrible turn of events.
That's not the type of C grade you want to do.
Yeah.
Joey's got an individual curve for all of them. And like, if you have a really rough performance and you're earning a C, it's a bad omen for your roster.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true. I didn't even think about it like that. That's kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
It's tough pill to
Yeah.
swallow.
When you hear Joey be that negative on a guy and then go C based on what he did in the past games.
You're like,
Yikes.
nice.
Yeah, it's
that
been
might
rough.
actually be relative to like what we see happen. And then,
No.
today. We'll jump on over to Brandon Johnson. Zach, take it away.
Oh man, my guy.
I
my
can't
guy.
grade him. I'm not going to.
You guys heard? Yeah, I'll give him an NA. He didn't really play. I think we have to talk about it again. I know we talked about it some yesterday, but I just feel so bad for Brandon Johnson. This was a guy who was going to be a big part of the offense and is now maybe a practice squad guy all season.
That hurts my heart.
I talked about it yesterday. Once he comes back from that ankle injury, it's going to be a lot easier to stash him on the practice squad because it's not, this time right after the preseason when everyone's rosters are shuffling around and everyone's looking for solutions at given positions. It just really hurts his chances next year. And then you're talking about going into next season. There's a reality where Johnson plays this year and has like a Kendall Hinton type year, like 15 catches, 240 yards, and a touchdown or two. That's kind of what I was projecting from him, honestly, based on seeing how confident they were using him in the offense and how good he looked. And now he might go into next year being a practice squatter all his first year. And that's going to be a hard uphill battle to make the roster next season. Yeah. Even with what he did this year, it's just, oh man, he could have established himself after this game and just like one non-contact fluke injury. And it has put his whole career on the hot seat. And it really depresses me because I love me some Brandon Johnson. And I am rooting for him hard during his recovery.
Yeah, absolutely. Joey, you went with the same NA grade.
Yep, I went with NA. I'm not going to grade the guy at this point. It just seems unfair. I'm not gonna give him a bad grade because of an injury.
Get back on the field.
No, try again in 6 weeks. Unfortunately, I thought with Tim Patrick's injury, and I just thought it was just a great opportunity that now kind of gets thrown by the wayside to no fault of his own. It's just terrible timing, and it was a freak accident. And I really hate those things because it just seems unfair.
Yeah, I really hope we see him again.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to jump over to the other receiver, Jalen Virgil. Joey, we'll start with you.
Jalen Virgil's looked great in every single game. So for my grade here, I gave him a C. I honestly should probably go lower just based off of how he's looked in these other games. When you consider that he fumbled the kick return on the very first play of regulation, and it went out at like the 1 yard line, or 2 or 3 yard line. I forget exactly what it was, but I gave him a C just because I'm going to be generous. And I don't want people to be like, Jalen Virgil got a C. No, he's looked good in every single game. He had another productive game.
The opposite of the
receiver.
Hicks C.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm confident with Jalen Virgil. I really like the player, man. Track star. He's been on the freak list. Like, there's certain things that you just love about his game.
He made
and his
the
potential.
freak list.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was on the freak list. Why was he on the freak? Just being big and fast like that?
Just being big and fast. I need
a
to
good
go
reason to
back
be on
and
the
read
freak
it.
list.
I read it after the first preseason game, I was trying to read up on him, and I found that. And I thought it was interesting.
Really, I did not know he made the freak.
Yeah.
Feather in his cap for sure. With Jalen Virgil, I think it's going to be a solid B. Again, I'm basing off pre-draft expectation. He was the most expensive of the UDFAs, but still a UDFA. And I never expected him to be the kick returner. You know, that was kind of always Montrell to me. And I think as concerning as that rep was, it's not too hard to see what he was trying to do there.
Right.
Like he's going into that game. I am on the roster bubble. I had awesome returns last week that helped me make the job. And to me, it just looked like a guy trying to do too much.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have even chased that one. He should have just let it go out the back of the end zone.
Yep.
I don't think that is a standard Jalen Virgil kick return. And I also don't think you're going to be asking him to return kicks for you. I think that was very much you should still knock him for it 100%. I'm not trying to like excuse all blame, but I don't think that was a normal scenario. I think the pressure on that was dialed up. There was more pressure on him to have a huge return than like, you know, if week 7, Montrell Washington's nursing an injury and he's back there, Dwayne Stukes is probably like, let it go over your head and be a touchback. It's like, let it go. And then I bet he does that because that's how, at that point, he's keeping a roster spot.
Right.
So it was a bad play, but then you saw the good receiver work from him maintained. I liked seeing it not just be go route Virgil, like, hey man, run a go route and I'm going to throw it to you in stride. And that's all you got. I like seeing more variety from him. So can't give him a great grade because of that ugly play, but I think a B minus feels fair.
At least he didn't field the ball and then run directly into the end zone.
Oh, Bobenmeyer, man, what are you doing?
That was the. I was sitting there watching that, like, well, damn, we're looking for new long snappers.
I was like,
dude,
that just
Stukes must have been losing because they were trying out long snappers a couple weeks ago to like put the version.
Well, and then when the camera, because I know both you guys were at the game.
I saw because they played the replay and the thing. You can see Bobenmeyer like he's kind of celebrating, which is why he's running into the end zone.
He's like dancing into the end zone with the ball, and then they zoom in on his face, and he's just all concerned and confused. He's like, "What? What did I do?"
No, at like the yard line, yard and a half yard line, he suddenly realizes, but his momentum's already carrying him. And he tries to like drop the ball like you just saw a spider on the ground or something. Like, well,
and then
it just didn't work.
The punters was pissed off too. Sam Martin.
Martin
was great.
The close-up shot on Martin. I don't know if because you were at the game.
You could see it on the big screen.
Oh, they had it on the big screen? Oh, I was busy watching the TV for Martin. That's so funny that they put up like Sam Martin.
But it was like in the like the slow-mo or the replay, but they had panned across.
That's great. Like, yeah, Sam Martin was livid. That was fantastic.
I was livid. I was like, what in the heavens is going on here?
Oh, it's a special time. It's a special
It's
time.
It's time.
I almost
It's
forgot.
time.
Joey's
Let's wrap.
Joey's question of the day.
All right. Are you guys ready?
Okay, yes.
Brought to you by Nestle.
Strawberry or chocolate milk?
Who
just one of their many
was the first Denver Bronco to compile more than 15 sacks in a season?
More than 15. First ever.
First ever. Don't look at my screen, Bree.
I can't see it.
To record 15 plus in a season.
It is the first one.
Because if you go too far back, the sacks don't go far back. Okay, I'm thinking out loud here. Simon Fletcher is a name that comes to mind, but I'm going to guess this is a bit of a trick question. I'm going to go Elvis Dumerville.
15 sacks.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
We have 5 seconds.
I'm just going Von Miller.
Maybe we can get Cody.
Oh, yeah. Can I phone a friend?
Phone a friend?
You already said it.
Okay. That's fine. We're opening the door so Cody Rourke from Mile High Sports can come in here and answer a question.
Joey, let's do it.
Okay, I'm asking this question to Cody Rourke.
Cody, who's in the
minutes here from back live.
Get in the frame. All right.
Who was the first Denver Bronco to compile more than 15 sacks in a season?
15? Oh, geez. I don't know.
I know it's a tough one.
No, that's my answers. I don't know.
Was it what era? Orange Crush era?
I'll give you a year, 1992.
1992. That's tough. To be honest with you, I don't know.
Simon Fletcher.
Oh, he's
Simon Fletcher.
All right. You know, Andrew Mason will probably nail every single one of these.
He probably would.
He is. He is. Appreciate dropping.
Yeah.
No,
hey,
yeah.
Thanks for hopping in.
Thank
you. Cool.
Zach, did you hear the answer?
No, what was the
You should
answer?
have given your first inclination.
Was it Vaughn? Was it Simon Fletcher?
Yeah.
Oh,
1992.
do you see how good at trivia I am? God,
You got it wrong.
I'm so mad. I know, but do you see? Oh, I'm
Poor
so
Cody's
mad at
never
that.
going to walk by again. He's just
Yeah.
going to sneak under the window so he can't see him.
Cool.
It was terrific. Thank you, Cody, for joining us. Shout out, Cody.
Shout out Cody Rourke. You can listen to him 4 to 6 p.m. on the afternoon drive with Anilo Piro on Mile High Sports Radio, 98.1 FM. Yeah, guys.
4 to 6.
That's what I said.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said 4 to 5. I'm tired.
Um,
I'm sorry, everybody.
No, you're okay. You're fine. You're
I'm just trying to
perfect.
catch any mistake Bree makes.
He just was like ready to call me
I need to
out.
fire her with cause so Nate doesn't get mad at me. So I'm just really.
Yeah, you have to actually provide a reason. So we got to start keeping track. There's a whiteboard. It has my name on it. We just check mark off the things that go wrong day in and day out. Fantastic episode tonight, guys. We will be back with you tomorrow, Wednesday, for another episode of Let's Talk Broncos. Joey, Zach, tell the people where they can find your stuff.
Everyone go follow me at JR Drafts. Find my writing at Mile High Sports.
Yeah,
love it.
you get faster and faster every time. Twitter
He's all
at
MHS.
Zach_Seegers, writing over at milehighsports.com. As I always say, daily articles for you.
Thanks.
Yesterday I had a fun Nick Bonitto one. Today I had one on like the ESPN top 100. You had 3 Denver Broncos making it there. Guess which 3? Zach's trivia question of the day.
No, I wasn't prepared for that. There's
no.
no title card,
Yeah.
so we're not going to do
You
that.
can get the next one.
Yeah. You can have the other one. Otherwise, Joey's going to go to every other day, and it's just
Yeah.
not going to work for us. You can find me on Mile High Sports. You can catch me on Mondays with the Broncos Blitz podcast, Fan Cave 98.1 FM from 1 to 2 p.m. every single day with the Let's Talk Broncos crew. Download the MHS app, catch all the writing and the contributions and the show and the stream and the we're going crazy over here. Broncos content all the time. Regular season comes up September 12th. We cannot wait. I am happy that you all joined us today, and we'll see you again soon. Let's go Broncos country.
Let's go.